Hey listeners, Mallory Willey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network, and I want to take just a quick moment to tell you about another show on our podcast network that I know you'll love. In Your Element, hosted by Brendan Henkel and Daniela Norden, is a podcast bridging the gap between leadership and real talk in the dynamic world of higher ed. Every episode is a deep dive into the practical side of working in higher ed, featuring real-world tips, best practices, and use cases from Element 451 users. Join our hosts as they bring on savvy IT leaders, visionary college presidents, and leading voices in the field to share their experiences and insights. From the challenges to the triumphs of higher ed, In Your Element is your source for candid discussions, innovative strategies, and the impactful use of technology, especially AI, in personalizing the student journey. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or by searching for In Your Element wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, it's Maya, and welcome back to another episode. I think we can all agree that providing tailored educational programs that meet local workforce needs is a win-win for both student success and regional growth. I also think we can agree that figuring this out is not always straightforward. There's a lot to figure out. How do we coordinate outreach and partnership management across campuses and departments? How do we know who within our college already has connections with local employers? How do we ensure local employers are fully aware of our college's capabilities and offerings? And let's not forget about tracking and documenting interactions for organized, measurable engagement with integrating regular feedback from community and industry partners to keep our programs relevant and trusted. It's a lot, right? But today we are in luck because we have some fantastic guests from Palm Beach State College joining us to tackle these questions and more. Ready to learn how Palm Beach State College forms, tracks, and promotes partnerships with local businesses and community? Then let's get started. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Dimishkovich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Welcome to today's episode, and a special welcome to not just one, but 3 guests from Palm Beach State College. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have all of you here. It really shows that you're committed to collaboration, and I suspect it might be a big part of your success, so we'll see. But today we have a very exciting topic. And when people think about community colleges, they often think about how we serve students, right? But community colleges also play a key role in supporting local employers and boosting the economy. So today, I'm looking forward to learning more about the strategies you use at your institution to build those strong relationships, and how do you actively respond to communities' needs in your area. But before we dive in, I would love for each of you to briefly introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about what you do and specifically how you're involved in building those partnerships and contributing to the workforce development. And Edward, I will start with you.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. So I have a fairly long tenure here at Palm Beach State College in my 35th year in higher education, and did come from the business partnership end of things, the hospital industry and clinical practice and healthcare education. And I've worked over the years to expand our offerings. We have a fairly large and diverse county and diverse and large catalog of offerings in the AA degree, AS degree, and baccalaureate degrees and certificates. And the largest major here at the college is the health science track. So it's my job to work with all 5 of our campuses and work with those healthcare programs and keep them connected to our business partners, our clinical partners, our affiliates. We manage those agreements within our division, over 200 agreements in Palm Beach County where our students are placed for clinical training. We work with local officials, hospital CEOs, COOs, chief nursing officers, et cetera, the business development board, the chambers of commerce, a career source, for example. Just recently, we run a panel with them. So it's my job to sort of coordinate that. We are still in the expansion mode. So I have a number of large construction projects going on to update and relocate some of our programs and partnerships with our business and industry colleagues, and open and development new offerings and expand our catalog based on employment needs and community needs and training needs right here in Palm Beach County.
Belinda, what about you? What is your role?
So I'm the Associate Dean for Health Sciences. So as Dean Willey mentioned, it's more of like a district model. So we're over 5 campuses. We've got health science programs over all the campuses here at Palm Beach State. And Palm Beach County is quite broad, which is something that we mentioned when we did our presentation at AACC, because there is a lot of rich areas and a lot of poor areas, and knowing what the needs are in the communities on this diverse county is something that we really try to stay in tune with our partners. My background is radiography and nuclear medicine. I've been in higher ed for almost 15 years now, been at Palm Beach State for almost 4. So it's been a pleasure working with the team and being a part of it and building these partnerships and expanding. Because even though Palm Beach State College is one of the oldest colleges in Florida, we definitely always find new ways of expanding and broadening our partnerships. And we even sometimes go outside of county to learn tips and tricks from our neighboring institutions and be able to collaborate on that. So it's definitely a wonderful opportunity. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. And I'm sure the strategies you'll be sharing today will benefit other colleges across the nation, and maybe they'll pick up some strategies, tips and tricks on how they can do better. And Matt, what is your role?
Sure. Thank you again for having us. My name is Matt Lenihan. I'm the Business and Community Relations Director here at Palm Beach State. So essentially my role, kind of what Belinda and Edward just mentioned, I'm connecting our business partners to our internal programs, anywhere from internship opportunities for students, job placement opportunities. I work alongside with our foundation fundraising and scholarships. It's basically, I'm out and about keeping up with what our industry needs are. If a new company moves to the area, reaching out to them to build awareness of the programs that we offer and how we might be able to support them from a workforce development standpoint. So I'm out and about a lot. Again, I cover all of the county as well. It's really cool. It's a fun job. And I don't have to sit at my desk all day, which is nice. But, I walked into a great spot. Obviously, Dean Willey's been here a long time and Belinda's been a part of the program for longer than I have. So I walked into a good situation where I really could kind of just take the existing partnerships and run with them a little bit too. And then I'm also circle back, I'm actually responsible for maintaining and tracking all of our external partnerships with the college and documenting them, and also new organizations as well.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk a lot about tracking and documenting, because I think that's a big piece of, managing those relationships. But I wanted to kind of take us to some of the challenges. So, Edward, you mentioned you've been with the college for a long time, 35 years. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what are some of the challenges in terms of staying connected with community needs and developing those strong partnerships and business relationships? And have you noticed any maybe trends that happened over time and what is happening now, maybe in your county or maybe even nationwide?
Sure. And there's no shortage of challenges. That's correct. I'm on the same page. I'm with you. We've already mentioned, one of our issues is we're very large and very diverse. Very rural, as Dr. Mouradian mentioned, to the East Coast, where it's a very different culture, Boca Raton all the way up to our north end, to Jupiter. So the challenges has been certainly to maintain, student open access into our programs, many of which are very, very competitive, because we know, and this is one of the greatest things that we do, is we know we change people's lives from a socioeconomic standpoint. As someone who was at a minimal entry-level position, who either comes in for retraining or goes to a hospital magnet or career track program, and really can stay within the community and earn a livable wage and take care of their family. And again, there's nothing greater than running into a graduate who now that went through a career ladder, and we have the opportunity now where we have CEOs and physicians and dentists and chief nursing officers who actually sat in our classrooms, who now receive our students in their clinical sites, which is a great thing. They have empathy, and they also understand our process. The challenge of managing growth, both from a facilities or resource standpoint, I do have to say that we are lucky to have very strong business partnerships, clinical partnerships. And what I learned, and I travel, nationally, is that when those employers who sort of buy our product start talking about our students as if they're their students and our students, we know we've accomplished something. They have a vested interest. We're not a short-term fix to anything. We're the long-term. We're the big player in the county. We provide the workforce larger than any other educational institution. As Belinda mentioned, we're the oldest public community college in the state of Florida. So we've been around, but we're open to change and to development, to new things. And lately that's been our challenge, is managing the fiscal resources and the facilities, the physical resources. And sometimes you have to make a choice. Do we have to evaluate outcomes here? Do we need to grow and expand off of the campus? Do we need to go to our partners and say, funding's an issue? And if this is a workforce issue, are you going to partner with us? What are you willing to do? And we've had very, very good success with that.
It's good to see that employers in your region feel like they're in it with you. All of you are together trying to train students. That's great. Great to see. Belinda, from your perspective, any additional challenges you would add from health sciences perspective?
No, other than the phenomenal demand that has recently caused a lot of knocking on our doors, and the hospitals just asking, how can we help to produce more graduates with the resources that you currently have, or how can we help support your initiative to be able to expand out these cohorts, because there's such a demand now, which is amazing. And that's great. And some of our students, we have built internship programs that while they're interning, they're promised a job when they get out. And that's phenomenal for that opportunity to exist. So just the challenges of just constantly staying on our toes, understanding the needs of the community, and then also being able to communicate that back in the institution of the size that we are. And Dean Willey and I work closely together, but with Matt, we work, but not as regularly. So being able to say, let's, get together with Matt, or let's get together with the other departments. We work closely with the foundation if in case we need to maybe see if there's any donors interested in helping us with funding challenges that we have, or scholarships or whatnot. So being able to recognize what partners we have internally and externally, and being able to just keep that communication going.
We've had leaders in industry, including in healthcare, come to ask to appear before students, or students who are ready to graduate, for example, and have offered the entire group and said, you finish your program, you pass your boards, you have a job with us in our system. I mean, can you imagine in front of an entire class? So that has really been great. And then from a physician practice standpoint, there's not a week that goes by that we don't get a call, not just about a particular graduate, medical assisting, diagnostic sonography, surgical technology. They're seeking bilingual, and they'll ask frequently about our student population and diverse population of our graduates. And I can immediately then approach the students and say, by the way, persist, complete, And this is waiting for you in your backyard here in Palm Beach County, these positions.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a great incentive for students to go into the health field and be able to get a job right when they graduate. That's the whole goal,
sure.
right? Is
Exactly.
complete a degree and get a job. So now, Matt, I want to talk to you now. So you have joined the institution recently. Was it like a year, 2 years ago?
A year and a half ago, yeah.
Yeah. So you joined as Director of Business and Community Relations, and you observed the different challenges that maybe Edward and Belinda are experiencing. So what was your approach? How did you address those challenges? What did you do as a new person coming in?
So the great thing about, working with Dean Willey and Belinda, their health programs are super well established. But when I did come in, obviously we have a long history here, 90 years, and a large online presence, plenty of programs, a lot of programs. External engagement was never a challenge. The challenge was kind of tracking who was doing what. So we didn't have duplicate efforts when people are out and about in the community. So that was kind of a challenge that I recognized. And that was something that, when I came on, that was something that the college was really looking to address. So I said, okay, what's the best way to maybe go about this? And what we did was we started with our AS programs. Those are our 2-year degrees. And each program has a dedicated department chair that kind of manages their business advisory councils, their other faculty, and really is kind of the leader of their specific program. And then basically what I did was, my first 6 months on the job here, I just set up appointments and times for me to meet with them one-on-one, kind of learn about their program first and foremost, because if I'm going to be out in the community, I need to know what I'm talking about. So across 130 programs, I met with a lot of different department chairs over a lot of different types of departments and programs. But, it was really about building trust internally with the people that I was going to be advocating for when I was out in the community. And part of that was just kind of understanding, okay, here's who they're currently working with. Here are maybe some of the gaps that we've identified. Who would they like to be working with that they're not? So that was a lot of great information that I got from them. And then a part of that conversation was also an idea that I had that I was going to work with our internal data team to create just a little Qualtrics survey that they would be sent to kind of fill out, okay, here are our current advisory partners. Here's who we're currently working with. If you could just do me a favor, rate how you work with them, the strength of the partnership, how you work with them, meaning like, hey, do our students have internships there? Do they do clinicals? Have they given us donations, scholarships? What's the nature of the partnership? So I sent that out to all of the department chairs. Luckily, they were all friendly enough to agree to do it in a timely manner. But in that case, we did receive a lot of information back that we had to digest. But that really gave me a clear understanding of who we were working with, the depth of the external partnerships that we had, and kind of gave me like a clear understanding of, okay, this is great. And these are types of areas we might want to address or work on to close any gaps we might have within the college.
That's a very smart approach. And I can relate because in our institution, almost everyone has some type of relationship with the external community. They either know someone who knows someone, or they serve on the board, or they have clinicals. So it's really hard to know who is talking to whom, like you said. So it's really important to track that information. So how do you track this? Do you use a certain tool to do it?
Yeah. So luckily, part of my initial 6 months was trying to get everybody to like me and meet with everybody. But I forged a relationship with our foundation team as well. I attended their weekly meetings just to get an understanding of who they were working with. What I did discover is they already had an internal CRM tool that they were utilizing to track their donors and their constituents. But there was a function of this database that they were nice enough to allow us to utilize as a college to just track some of our higher level or some of our important external engagement. So basically what we did was we dedicated username and credentials to specific deans, department chairs, and also some of the provosts who had external responsibilities. And the process that we put in place was a template, just like, hey, this is how we'd like to see you document your external contacts, whether it be a meeting, it's embedded into an email. Sorry, the actual database is called Razor's Edge. So that's something that we decided to utilize, just because leverage our resources instead of recreating the wheel, use something we already have if it does have that function and capability. So that's been a project that's been, a work in progress. It's a culture change for sure to track what you're doing, but it's getting better and better, as the weeks go on, and there's more reports that we can spit out of who's working with who. And if you are going out in the community as whether it's Dean Willey, Belinda, or a provost, they can kind of go back and check the database to see who was the last person that might have contacted that specific company.
I think that's so important. It gives you a lot of insight and you're not repeating and talking about the same information. So when you're thinking about those measurements and metrics, what's important to you? What do you actually pay attention to? Is it the number of new partnerships? Is it the referrals? Is it the new programs? How do you measure the success of this initiative?
Well, I think if they're joining our advisory councils, that's the number one thing that I think is great for us as an institution, is getting their buy-in to kind of verify we're doing what we're saying we're doing as it is as an institution. And that's across all of our programs. Without our community engagement or companies kind of verifying that this curriculum does meet the needs of their, talent pipeline demands, what exactly are we doing as a college? So that's critical. After that, it's, any types of support, volunteer opportunities, having our students as interns, learning the ropes so they can get the necessary job experience prior to getting a job, which is kind of the way things have trended now. And obviously that's all relationship driven, willing to partner with us, willing to learn about us. And it's our responsibility to build awareness of who we are, be active, be responsive, be proactive, I should say, understanding where programs are going, where industry is going, and kind of keeping up as fast as we can with, the ever-changing world we live in, and especially Palm Beach County, because it's getting bigger and bigger by the year, with just the migration to Florida, and specifically the southern tip of Florida.
Hey, it's Mallory. Exciting news. I'm hosting the Engage Summit in Raleigh on June 25th and 26th, and I'd love to meet you there. Together, we'll dive into the mind of the modern student, what fires them up, how they interact, and what they expect in today's digital age, and how tools like AI help put them in the driver's seat of their education. We have some terrific speakers, including our closing keynote, New York Times best-selling author Jeff Selingo. Sessions will dig into practical ideas and innovative strategies to get your team more student-centered and ready to adopt AI. And many of your favorite Enrollify hosts are presenting too, like Jamie Hunt, Jenny Lee Fowler, and Brian Gross. Use the discount code Enrollify50 for an extra $50 off your registration. Learn more and register at engage.element451.com. We can't wait to see you there.
Maya, you mentioned the challenge of sometimes there's multiple contacts from our institution. And one of the tricks that Matt has to figure out is, was there follow-up? And if there was follow-up, was the inquiries funneled to the right area of our college or to the right contact so that the appropriate follow-up, maybe we already have such a thing in place and we can quickly respond to that partner, and maybe we don't. And we may want to come back to the table and talk about, is this something feasible that we want to work with? So for a number of years that we would hear that no one got back to me, or we didn't know you had that. And that's one of the things we're better at now addressing. And Matt sort of outlined some of that.
Maya, I did also want to just include, with the survey and the data that we got back, it allowed us to do some kind of cross-program networking, and say if it's just a specific, like a hospital, for example, if we're working with, Jupiter Medical, but obviously within a hospital, there's additional jobs beyond, nursing and the typical healthcare jobs. There's accounting departments, there's finance departments, there's human resources. So those are opportunities we can leverage by identifying, hey, we already have an existing partnership with this organization. Maybe, Belinda or Ed can kind of forge an introduction to somebody who can introduce us to somebody within HR that we can start, developing that relationship further and deeper within a big organization like a hospital.
Right. And from a perspective of developing those relationships, I think that's the best way to go, right? When somebody introduces you, like a soft handoff. So that makes sense.
Being a 90-year institution, I have to say we have a lot of goodwill in the community, and I walked into a good situation. So I just want to make that clear. It's not like we started from scratch here. The people before us, and it's just a matter of document what we're doing. So when we leave, somebody has something in stone and written down that they can pick up and run with it, hopefully.
Belinda, anything from your perspective, anything you want to track or that signals success of something? Like, I know you work with a lot of advisory boards or advisory council. Like, what else are you looking for as success metrics?
Each of our programs are mandated by programmatic accrediting bodies who have strict lists of who encompasses these business partnerships or advisory boards. We are lucky enough to have very active advisory boards, so they do give us feedback. We also regularly go and visit the hospitals. We do career fairs. We do partnerships. There's many different areas that we find a way to be able to assess whether what we're doing is working, whether there's something to change. There's surveys that we send out specifically for each program to be able to get feedback. And then we do like award ceremonies to show our gratitude, and we send emails out just because a lot of the partners that we have do sacrifice a lot of their time, even though they say it's part of your job with the training. When you're in the hospital and you're working and it gets a little hectic, sometimes the student could be a nuisance if they really don't know what they're doing. So being able to make sure that we train them properly, we're doing everything right as an institution to be able to make sure these students are assets and how we could further enhance that. So really, once that we see that they pass the licensure exam and that they're hired, I think that right there shows the success, because there's nothing better than seeing, like Dean Willey said, hopefully we're never sick, but if we are, that they're taking care of us and doing a great job at it and out and advancing in their careers. So I think that's the biggest indicator of success. And then just to go back to what Matt was saying, I teasingly had told him back when he was first hired, like, who's this? Like, asking all these questions and coming into our area, So for anyone else listening to kind of follow in the footsteps, there is a bit of territory that does exist. I mean, it's just natural to happen, but being able to recognize how we all work together and how we will continue to communicate with each other so there isn't miscommunication, and how we're all centralized around one goal, right? So being able to understand that Matt was asking questions that definitely needed to happen and we needed to work together, and his reach would expand out farther than we've had, and just making sure that we're all respectful for, what each person's role is. So it was definitely a little funny because there was a lot of the program directors and chairs that we have. They're like, who is this that's emailing me, asking me about my, business partners and stuff? Because you become very protective, especially if you've been doing it the same way, for 30 years or so. They're like, why do we have to change it? But it's always open to suggestions and improving. And that just shows the type of institution we are to be able to really welcome that and work together. So I'm really, happy that has occurred and that Matt has joined us to do that.
Yeah, just recognizing, just as a kind of what I noticed, like recognizing like these relationships can be delicate, and just understanding that, especially, if the foundation's involved and there's scholarship and donation involved too. Those are things just to keep in mind as you do go out in the community, and just, make sure you can prepare yourself as best as you can before you start, going on the external side and making connections. Because that helped me a ton, is just staying, not even going out. It's like in basketball, you don't pick up a ball within the first 3 weeks if you're learning the fundamentals. And that's kind of how we approached it. So I think it was definitely helpful.
Yeah. And I joke with Dean Willey because sometimes people will come and be like, oh, did you ever meet, the CEO of this hospital? And he'll be like, yeah, my son or my daughter went to school with them. I went to their wedding. And so really just knowing the history and, how way back, even if there's changes, sometimes there's a CEO of one hospital that moves to another hospital, and just being able to know that there is a good wealth of a community that we already have established, and being able to build off of that is great.
That's excellent. And Matt, you mentioned in the beginning about building awareness. So you probably have a lot of new businesses coming into your region, and there's change in leadership. So not everyone is aware about all of the great services that the college offers. So I'm curious to know, how do you build this awareness, and how do you let people know? And what are some of the effective ways of doing it?
Right. Just research, especially, the BDB, it's the Business Development Board. They're like our external economic development agency for the county. So, the college had a great relationship with them even before I started working with their kind of business advisors closely. They keep us in tune if there's our organizations that are moving here, and they stay into, they're responsible for attracting new businesses to come to the county. So obviously being on the forefront of that, sending in a welcome letter to, the CEO, just like welcoming to the community. We're Palm Beach State College. We'd love to help you from a workforce standpoint. That's always a good rule of thumb that we do. And then also the BDB is very in tune with the organizations that have moved here that they've helped, and staying in touch with them from a workforce talent standpoint. And we work, hand in hand with them. Career Source is the local career agency here. So we have a great relationship with them. They're the ones in terms of, doling out local money as it relates to new hire grants and incumbent worker training grants, those types of things. So we work closely with them. And then also it's really, a grassroots effort, just communicating, sending the emails. What I found is also beyond like going to chamber meetings and just, networking events, really get involved with specific industry associations. Those can be, you do see a lot of specific industry people that are active in those. So you just want to look up what active industry associations are in your county, get involved as an educational partner that they're typically always, welcoming. Because again, specifically for construction, for example, there's such a shortage in the technical field. They want us to be involved. We have the specific programs that could meet their demands. It's really just a matter of building awareness, getting to know people, building relationships and trust. And then from there, they're coming on campus to talk about their job opportunities. We're bringing students to a site or a facility to tour to kind of get an idea what a day in the life would be like if they were to work there, if they were to intern there. So there's a lot of different ways that we've gone about doing that. It really falls down to just building a relationship with somebody and, just being persistent with those types of things. If you don't get a response from somebody, you can find out maybe somebody might have a connection there and, leverage it that way. LinkedIn's a great resource too, just to look up who the contacts are, who the HR, the hiring manager is and, the recruiter is and just send them a note, link in with them. It's really, I don't want to use the word threatening, but, it's a non-threatening type of outreach because again, we're looking to support them and be a resource for them in the community.
And when we spoke first, you mentioned that you like to use storytelling in how you approach employers and how you tell the story about your institution. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you do it?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Dean Wiley first on this one. He's been here a long time. I know you guys have done videos and stories on successes of, graduates. So
yeah, we have some very recent timely ones that were not planned for this discussion, but we had some wonderful news pieces. Free press is the best press, but they were very positive, life-changing stories. We featured one of our sonography program students not long ago, was aired on 5 different newscasts, but about a life-changing career change that the young woman made and found her way. And one of our secrets is people don't know what we have, but is getting these jobs and these programs out there. So anyway, most recently we had a STEM event in our county, which was a big charity fundraising thing. And there was a young lady who actually privately was a CNA graduate and came upon an incident where a young child needed CPR, a baby. And it wound up being a huge news piece. And the young woman went into action, performed CPR. The EMS first responders arrived and credited her with, if it hadn't been for this immediate action, and the baby worked out fine. And she was interviewed and said how hard she worked to go through CNA and that all she ever wanted to be was a respiratory therapist. So the college brought her to this event, unbeknownst to her, by the way, and brought her up front and featured her and awarded her a full scholarship check award in front of her at this event in the community. And you could just tell the impact. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house, but that this was just a real life story of what this, a young woman jumped into action and then how there was a match and somebody needs to tell somebody. And they probably met someone like you at their institution who said, we should look into this as a story. And this was just a week and a half ago. And it was just a fantastic story. So we're getting a lot of inquiries about that and we can't wait to hear. I'm sure we haven't heard the end of this young lady's journey.
What a powerful story. Just listening to you, I get goosebumps. Like that's amazing. And how great of you to offer the scholarship to her. That's really is amazing. And Matt, I think last time you also mentioned that how you frame your message when somebody says, I'm not familiar with the college or I don't know much about the college. How do you address that?
Well, yeah, just in terms of the storytelling too, I think a cool thing that we've done and we've recognized as being pretty successful with some of our corporate partners or business partners, making it as seamless and easy as possible for their current employees to come back to school. So what we've done, we've built customized landing pages on our internal website that is co-branded between the business partner and the college. And embedded on the landing page is a video of a past graduate or somebody who went through a specific program, just highlighting, hey, this is what I do at my organization. While I was working, I went back to Palm Beach State. I earned this credential and now I got promoted and now I'm working in this, this, and this. And that's a really cool way to tell a story. And then on that landing page, there are links to our application. So if other colleagues of his or hers want to attend school, there are tuition reimbursement. If they have something like that, tuition reimbursement, just, the steps that it would take to enroll in Palm Beach State College as a student. And it kind of recognizes the power of the partnership that we have in the community. If you can build kind of those co-branded spaces, that's been something that's been pretty neat for us. And then from an awareness standpoint, I know the organization I'm thinking of right now, they would have the video playing in their break room and just kind of not bombarding people, but it's cool stuff to advertise, and it's a win-win for both sides. So, those are the types of things that, when I go into an organization, I can show them, say, hey, we did this for this specific organization. We would love to do this for you too. And this is kind of the power of that, because there are these organizations, they want their folks to upskill themselves. They want them to earn credentials because they want to keep them. And that's a great retention mechanism. And I feel like we've kind of been a resource for them to be able to do that.
Yeah. I like this idea of co-branded pages. That's really cool. And I'm sure you can measure how many people go to that page and how many people apply. So this is more of a targeted outreach. That's very cool. And how do you work with your marketing communications department? How do they support your outreach efforts?
Sure. So we work closely with them, and then our foundation, which manages our alumni team. And, we actually recently purchased a new tool. So thank you to the college for, bringing on a new system. It's a system where we can identify all of our alumni by even specific program and where they're currently working. So that's been a great tool for our office, just because we've identified some pretty cool alumni that graduated 30, 40 years ago and have gone on to extremely successful careers. For example, I found somebody that's currently working at General Motors. He was from Belglade, which is the really rural area of this county, more of the economically challenged areas of the county, but is now he's the head engineer of their entire, motor division. And he was basically the brains behind building the engine for the Corvette. And he was a Palm Beach State College graduate. And, we had reached out to him. He's like, good Lord, I haven't thought about Palm Beach State in, 30 years. How did you get my name? But he was able to come in, speak to the students a little bit. And that's something we can add. One of those things, those are and you build that trust and relationship with former alumni. Those are the people you really want to leverage. And our marketing team love those types of stories because it's easy. It's not easy, but it's a story. It's a success story. And those are the types of things that I think resonate with the community.
And it's a challenge because for quite a while, there was this focus on, marketing the college, the institution, and programs were asking, well, what about, this? Why can't we feature nursing, or why can't we feature engineering or hospitality? And so now there's sort of a juggle. We've done some successful things recently, and particularly in certain geographic areas where we know that those careers and those workforce needs are there, by advertising and at least being present at those sort of things. But I know that there's a real juggle and art to that. And we're doing more and more now about focusing on the name of the job, the name of the career. If you wanted to be this, or you thought you were good at that, we have that. And here's what it's called. And I'm seeing a lot more of that. And I'm actually very glad to see that. That also means things to parents who may not know the names of these particular ophthalmology or sonography. So what is that? And other areas, biotechnology, for example. So I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, I think it's important to educate the community about where the potential career growth can take students, because they don't know. They're not in the healthcare field. So it's up to us to show them what's trending and what's going to stay here with all the changes that are happening. I mean, I've learned so much talking to all of you. Is there anything that you would like to add that I didn't ask you, or maybe advice you have for other community colleges who are looking to enhance their partnerships and business development outreach?
Be yourself, be active, understand relationships really drive everything from an external standpoint. And I think that will kind of breed success from an enrollment standpoint, student standpoint. it's just getting buy-in and building those relationships. And you have to be active and persistent and, be prepared when you're entering a business, understand what their business is, what they do, and, look at their career page, what careers are open, so you can come in and kind of align yourself with what exactly it is they're probably looking for. So.
And it's great to get out. It's good to come home and know that we've actually done some things pretty good. And we also know that we can learn from, and you just mentioned this, Maya, from our colleagues that do the same thing, but somewhere else, either in the state or in the country. We mentioned we were just in Louisville, Kentucky not long ago at a large national conference. And then next month I'll be at a state meeting, but I'm quite sure I'll come back with something that would enhance or, help either one of our programs or a branch of the institution, or even a particular faculty member, which is really when a lot of this comes down to, the faculty in front of these students.
Well, I can see that you guys have a great team and you're very collaborative and you're listening to each other and you're open to change and to enhancing what you're currently doing. So that's great to see. And I want to thank you for your time. It was very insightful, and I wish you all the best in your future effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Dimishkovich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you would like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you are not just listening to a podcast. You are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.